Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are tuning in from. You're welcome to this week's Forex Outlook for the 12th to the 16th of August 2024. This is brought to you by Trading Pro. Trading Pro is an international multi-award winning financial service provider. They've been in the brokerage service for 8 years. As you can see, we are marking our 8 years anniversary. So they are offering a lot of interesting prizes. So you could head off there to partake in it by just signing up to tradingpro.com and following the rules. So without taking so much of your time, let's get down to what we have going into the new week. So we're going to start off with the economic calendar. Starting off with the economic calendar, Monday is going to become the major driver for this week. Although we have several rate news, we have New Zealand rate statement coming in Wednesday. That's early Wednesday morning. Tuesday, we have pound claimant count and core PPI on Tuesday. Monday is going to be calm. Wednesday is going to be very, very interesting because apart from the New Zealand rate news, we have pound CPI and then we have the dollar CPI. This is going to be very, very interesting because that's what the market is waiting for. Then Thursday, we have Aussie unemployment news. Then we have pound. Then Friday, we have also pound news. But the major driver for this week is going to be the dollar CPI because the market is really watching out for it. So without taking so much of our time, we are going to start off with the EURGBP, the US 100, dollar index, EURUSD, GBPUSD, gold, pound yen, and euro yen. So let's start off with the EURGBP. Looking at the EURGBP, if we start off from the weekly, we can see that this pair is still bearish. This pair is still bearish, as you can see, but price is sitting above this fair value gap here. So what that points to the fact is that we might see a little bit of euro weakness coming into this new week. We might see a little bit of euro weakness coming into the new week. So we might see a bit of a rally first, because if you look at this, there's a breaker setup here. We have a spike above this high, then it closed below this low. So we might see a little bit of a retracement, probably into these relatively equal highs, then a continuation to the downside, maybe to fill in this fair value gap. But we'll be watching this other block here, because this other block is very important as it was used to break this high here at 85.40. It was used to break 85.40. So if the market gets down to this particular other block, we might see a little bit of activity there. What I mean by activity is that we might see a bit of a bounce from that level. So let's all be aware of that. So the next pair we're going to be going into is the US 100. Looking at this pair, long term, if we look at it from the daily perspective, this pair is still slightly tilted to the downside. Although long term, that's if we go up to the weekly time frame, long term on the weekly time frame, this pair is still looking bullish, as in it just dipped into this fair value gap, into this range that's between 18,489 to 16,969. So on the weekly, we can say price is retesting this range it has broken out of. But if we look at the daily, we can say that this is in a short-term bearish move. That's on the daily, we have a bearish move because we have a close below 1887. So this pair going into this new week, the possibility exists that we're going to see a little bit of bullish run on this pair. The possibility exists that we're going to see a little bit of a bullish run on this pair. Probably price may retrace first before continuing to the upside. As you can see, we still have this range between this point here. So price may retrace a bit before continuing to the upside because price might be drawn towards this fair value gap here. So that's where price might be heading towards going into this new week. So we might see a little bit of a down move and a continuation to the upside on this pair. So the next we're going to be looking at is the dollar index. The dollar index, if we start the dollar index from the weekly, this pair has a slight bearish bias. It's between 107.34 to 100. As where we have the dollar index on the weekly. It's within this range. And this range is bullish, kind of. But what we have short term is not a bullish move. What we have short term is what looks like a bearish setup. As you can see, on the daily, we have a break below 103.65. And we have this fair value gap here. So looking at price, it rejected off 102.35. So this fair value gap is where price might be trying to head for during this new week. As you can see, the 4-hour is showing a kind of a retracement, but the retracement, this move didn't close above 103.36. So that means that we might see a move, and we have what looks like equal lows here at 102.89. So we might see a move down and then a continuation to the upside. So that means that Monday, Tuesday, we might see weakness on the dollar index before a continuation to the upside. But if we look at it on the weekly, if we look at this pair on the weekly has a long lower wick. So that move down might be just to retrace a bit of this move, then probably target the higher prices. That's target to fill up this fair value gap. And the CPI might be what the market would use to achieve that. The CPI is most likely what might be used to drive price to that high. So we need to be aware of that going into the new week. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the EURUSD. If we look at the EURUSD, the weekly closed with a long upper wick. The weekly candle closed with a long upper wick. You can see it rejected from this fair value gap here, the upper part of this fair value gap. And that fair value gap also is an order block. After it was formed in the 1st of January, it has not been mitigated. So you can see price came in there. We have a strong rejection. So going into this new week, the possibility is that we might see a bit of a retracement into this fair value gap here. And there's something unique about this fair value gap. From this high to this low, the equilibrium comes in at 1.0862. The equilibrium of this fair value gap comes in at that same point. So that means that we might see a retracement down here before a continuation to the upside on the EURUSD. So we might see a bit of a retracement. So going into this new week, the possibility exists that we might see a bit of a move up before a continuation to the downside. As you can already see on the 4-hour, the move is already in place. So we might see a little bit of an upside move to retest this fair value gap before a continuation back to the downside, probably to try and fill in this big imbalance here. So that's what we have on the EURUSD. The next one we're going to be looking at is the GBPUSD. The GBPUSD, due to Euro's weakness against the pound, if you look at the GBPUSD, while the Euro has a long wick to the upside, the GBPUSD has the wick to the downside. That's as a result of the Euro's weakness against the British pound. So what does this imply going into this new week? That we might see a bit of a bullish run on this pair before a continuation to the downside. That's what we might see on this pair. We might see a bit of a bullish run, and that bullish run most likely is going to be targeting any of these levels there. Because if you look at the 4-hour, we have a bullish breaker here. Price did not close below 1.2672. Upon the retracement, price did not close there. So we'll be watching a bit of a retracement, and as you can see, this level is already holding price. So we might see a little down move before a move up, and that might likely see price move back down. That will be if the EURGBP continues his weakness, then this, if the EURGBP continues his weakness and the dollar gains strength, don't try to sell the GBPUSD. Instead, sell the EURUSD. That will be a better shot than trying to sell the GBPUSD. The next pair we're going to be looking at is gold. Looking at gold, short term, if we look at gold from the weekly, gold is still slightly bullish. It still has a bullish bias on the weekly. We don't have new lows on the weekly. If we go to the daily, we don't have new lows on the daily yet. But if we go to the 4-hour time frame, we have what seems to be like a slight range. We have a range between 2477.6 to 2364.16. And if you measure this range high to this range low, price just tapped into the 61.8. That price is in premium of this range. And it hasn't been able to close above this fair value gap at 24.32. But if we drop down to the one, and one other thing, there is a range candle here on the daily. So I'm going to put in my annotations now. There is a range candle here. That's on this particular broker. This high, this low. And see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. It just managed to poke above it. So if this retraces, the possibility is that it might retrace and continue to the upside. As one thing with gold is that when gold is looking at ranges, it can break. If it breaks in either direction, like this range on this 4-hour is 619 pips. So if price breaks to the upside of this range, most likely you're going to see price come up to 24.55. And as you can see, the complete range will bring price above 24.77. That will be a retest of this high if that should play out. But going into this new week, the possibility is that we might see a bit of a retracement and a push up to the upside. So gold going into this new week, slightly bullish on gold. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the pound yen. These pairs are bearish, but we are looking at retracements going into this new week because the Bank of Japan is not raising interest rates. So this pair might still continue slightly to the upside. If we look at the weekly candle, it closed with a long lower week, a very long lower week. So that means that we might see a bit of a retracement on Monday, Tuesday, a bit of a retracement on Monday, Tuesday, probably to sweep into this fair value gap and continue to the upside on this pair. Probably to target maybe this 190 to this fair value gap here. Because if the EURGBP strength weakness is to continue, this will move faster than euro yen. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the euro yen. This pair still bearish, but just like I pointed out on the pound yen, you can see it has a long lower wick to the downside. So that points to the fact that we might see a retracement, probably to fill in this fair value gap going into this new week. So if we drop down to the daily time frame, the possibility is that we might see a bit of a retracement. The possibility is that we might see a bit of a retracement down before a continuation to the upside on this pair. So I'm going to, anybody with any pair, because that's the last pair, any pair you want me to look at before we call it a day? Is there anybody with any pair you want me to look at? You can just type it in so that I can look at that. If we don't have any, then we call it NZD AUD. Do you mean AUD NZD or NZD USD? Can the person please clarify so that I can look at it? Which do you mean, NZD USD or AUD NZD? Okay, let me look at that there. So we're going to start off from the weekly because it's not a pair I look at. Long term, this pair is bullish. As you can see, we have a break above this high. I think I did analysis here. I said if it can't break above this point, it's going to come down. Now it has come down between this range to this point, and you can see it's bouncing off the equilibrium of this range. So what that means is that going into next week, we might see Aussie strength. And if you look at it on the daily, we already have a bearish, bullish engulfing. So that means most likely you're going to see a bullish run on this pair going into next week. We have a higher low. This high didn't break this low. So when you have a situation like this high is going to be target 1.1. Price is going for it next week and probably slightly higher. So you're going to see Aussie strength going into next week. Somebody said GBPAUD. It's a pair I don't trade, so I don't trade those pairs. GBPAUD. Let's give it GBPAUD. It said GBPAUD. It's a pair I don't trade. Hello? Can you all still hear me? If you can still hear me, just type yes into the chat box. Okay. GBPAUD, let's start from the weekly. Long term, this pair is still bullish. Long term, this pair is still bullish because we have a break above 195.70. So we have a break above it. So what we are looking at, since price came in to test the range it has broken out of here. It hasn't got to the equilibrium, so it just tested this high. But this formation on the weekly is not bullish. So that means that going into this new week, we might see a bit of a retracement on this pair. We might see a bit of a retracement. So as you can see now, price is at this bullish fair value gap here. So we might see a bit of a retracement going into this new bullish retracement. That's what I mean. We might see a bit of a bullish retracement going into this new week on this pair, because on the 4-hour we're bearish on this pair. But remember, we have a strong pound against the GBP, EURGBP. That's the pound is strong, and we are going to see strong AUD this week. So when you have two strong pairs, it's advisable to not trade that pair. It's going to be a struggle. But going into this new week, we might see a bit of a retracement on this pair. So if I were to take a trade, I'll be looking at Euro AUD. I will not be looking at GBP AUD. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is AUDJPY. AUDJPY, that is going to be very clear. Since we're going to have Euro, I think I did analysis on this pair sometime. I pointed out this low, and we already have the bounce there. So let's look at this on the weekly. If we look at it, it's a sharp move up, and it closed back within the range. So that means that going into this new week, any down move on this pair is going to be an opportunity for an up move. So this pair going into this new week is bullish. So you just have to, so what you're going to do is from this low to this high, we already have these fair value gaps here. So any of these fair value gaps can hold price and send price up to probably 98.77, as we have pound weakness and Aussie strength going into the new week. So the last but not the least is USD CAD. So USD CAD. So looking at this pair, let's start from the weekly. On the weekly, this pair is bullish because we have a break above this high. But we had a sweep above 1.3899 and we had a bearish move. So going into this new week, any up move on this pair is going to be an opportunity for a short. Any up move on this pair is going to be an opportunity for a short. So if you're going to play this pair, what you're going to do is you're going to pick this high to this low. Then if you go down to the 4-hour time frame, that retracement might bring price to sweep this high because we have this fair value gap. If it gets very extended, it might come up, but this pair is on the downside. So any retracement up is going to be an opportunity for lower prices. So I thank you all for taking your time to attend. I wish everybody a blessed and lovely weekend and a lovely trading week ahead. So thank you all and goodbye.